Hello there, everybody. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to our course. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background to me and maybe to why I teach the course the way that I do. I'll walk you through the syllabus in a little bit more detail than what I provided you in our introductory video that I sent yesterday. And then I am going to walk you through the rest of what is expected of you today. So here we can see our course agenda for the day, so course logistics, etc. Then you are going to transition into watching a lecture video and learning about the basic body terms, as well as some just basic terminology associated with anatomy and physiology that you'll be using for the rest of your time in the medical field, for sure. And then you are going to finally complete a class assignment on Blackboard. So first and foremost, as I said before, my name is Melanie Schreier. I am your instructor for this first part of the summer. I actually grew up in South Jersey, like right around the corner from Stockton. But as soon as I could, I kind of got out and saw the rest of the world. Particularly the natural areas of the world. I absolutely love being outside. I love being in nature. And as you can see, I'm in the mountains. This is me in the Swiss Alps a few years ago. I went to school in New Hampshire for environmental sciences. And while I was there, I got to do a lot of different study abroad type experiences and research in a lot of different ecosystems. So this is actually me in Australia, kind of hiding behind a little buttress root. I did some research in green ringtail possum foraging and what that looks like in the rainforest ecosystem. I did a little bit of time in Montana. So this particular image is in Yellowstone National Park. I got to kind of check out the rivers out there. For my senior research project, I did a little bit of exploration into how climate change affected wild strawberries, which is what's here, during the last major climate change event. So at the recession of the glaciers about 10, 11,000 years ago, how exactly do strawberries respond? And therefore, how might plants respond now to current climate change events? After I graduated from the University of New Hampshire, again with a degree in environmental science, I did some research in California. So this is Yosemite National Park, looking at birds and how their habitats are influenced by climate change and how they kind of had to move up the mountains in order to have cool enough climate. I also did some work in North and South Dakota on black terns. So that's what is right over there. So black terns generally nest in farmers' fields, which has a lot of implications for kind of land management and also the use of pesticides and whatnot. And so pretty much after all of this work in the field, in the environment, and kind of learning about what climate change is doing to us, learning about what chemicals are doing to us, I decided to go to graduate school in Flagstaff, Arizona, and study endocrine disruption. So essentially how chemicals that humans make, humans use, and lots of good reasons for that, how that affects the environment, all the animals that live within it, and ultimately their development and reproduction and behavior. And of course, this has some pretty profound implications for humans as well. So this is one of my study sites. No, it doesn't look like what you would picture of Arizona is looking like, but that indeed is Arizona. In the process, I had to study a lot of genetics. I had to study a lot of endocrinology, of course, and also neurobiology. So how neurons work and how the use of neurotransmitters and communication between our cells is affected by all of these different chemicals that we've made. And so in the process, I went to Washington State and I studied in Puget Sound how neurons work in model organisms such as these. These are called tritonia, a special type of sea slug with a really big, beautiful neuron so that we can actually see what is happening even with the naked eye. So in this image here is one sea slug, here's another sea slug, and they're actually engaged in coitus in this particular image. So after all of this work in in environmental sciences and how human activity is affecting us and affecting the environment, I decided to move back to my home state and start an organic farm. So I think that that is really a good way for me to make a difference in the world, to provide environmentally friendly food for my community, and in the process build up the environment as opposed to taking away from the environment, damaging the environment. And so these are just some of my friends. I generally try to mimic the cycles of nature, and again, build up the environmental quality as opposed to tearing it down. So I bring all of this up because I think that I am not your typical A&P professor. I don't really have a strong medical background. I don't have a lot of clinical experience, but what I do have is, the ability to see the human environment in this kind of broader context. And so I can bring a lot of that perspective into the class. And I hope that you guys can grow to appreciate how humans interact with each other, interact with the world, and how we can improve our own internal environment by kind of changing what we put into our own bodies. And so if you're interested in talking about study abroad or different internship opportunities or, endocrine disruption or anything, I'm more than happy to do so. Okay, so that's enough about me. Let's walk through the syllabus. I have taken some of the pieces of the syllabus and kind of presented them to you like this so that we can actually see them. First and foremost, in this class, there's going to be a lot of scientific information. Okay? And of course, you guys are studying this information in a very shortened period of time. I encourage you to kind of treat this class like a job. Assume that most of your time is going to be spent studying. A lot of students that come into this class don't really have a lot of just like rote memorization experience or even scientific knowledge experience. And so I encourage you to not just limit yourself to the study techniques that you have used in the past, but to explore a little bit, right? This is different content, and of course there's a lot more of it than maybe you're used to. And so maybe what worked for you in the past isn't the best way to approach this new information. And so over this semester, I am going to give you lots of little tricks, what has worked for people in the past. And maybe if whatever you're doing now isn't working out, try something different. Okay? So we're going to have a lecture component. We're also going to have a laboratory component. Laboratories are going to be only conducted on Mondays and Wednesdays. And the reason for that is that we are only meeting together on campus on Mondays and Wednesdays. As you can see, this is kind of a long period of time, and I recognize that's a little bit intense. Don't worry, we will take breaks, and not every class is going to go for that entire duration. But you should be prepared to leave that window open on Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay, so you're only coming to campus 2 days a week. Hopefully that's helpful to you commuters. And we're probably not going to see each other for that full 5 hours, but I often might give you another little assignment that might fill up that extra time. So figure on 5 hours concentrated A&P time every Monday and Wednesday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am going to assign some kind of asynchronous lesson and assignment. Right, so again, Tuesdays and Thursdays are always asynchronous. I will never ask you to come to campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That being said, you should use that time on Tuesdays and Thursdays to get through the content that I provide. The course was designed to kind of keep throwing a certain amount of information at you every day for the 4 days a week. And then, ultimately, if you keep up with that, you won't get behind. You won't feel quite so overwhelmed when it comes to exam time. All right, finally on here, of course, is my name, Melanie Schreier. You can call me by my first name or whatever makes you comfortable. It's all good. If you want to get a hold of me, this is my email address. Please allow a little bit of time for response because there's a lot of incoming information. Also, really the best and most thorough way of getting a hold of me is in person on Mondays and Wednesdays. What do you need for this class? I only require you to purchase one thing. You are encouraged to buy other things if you want, but really one required purchase for this class, and that is a study and homework service. If you have had A&P before at Stockton, maybe you already have access to this. A lot of times students choose to purchase a longer subscription. If you haven't, that's okay. Generally, what you're going to do is you're going to go to this website, which stands for My Lab and Mastering at pearson.com, and you are going to register as a student. Okay, so register as a student, and immediately they will ask you for a course code. You will type in this, and essentially this is the homework service and laboratory service associated with this textbook. So Human Anatomy and Physiology, the second edition by Aaron C. Emmerman. You are, or the homework is associated with this particular text. Okay, so if you go to chegg.com or something and try to buy a subscription, you need to make sure that you get the subscription associated with this particular textbook. Okay, not the first edition, not anything else, this book. In the past, students have tried to do that, go through Amazon or go through Chegg or something, and generally, if you don't click just the right little boxes, you end up getting the wrong subscription, and then it's a whole song and a dance trying to get Pearson to refund you and give you what you actually need. And so I would recommend going right to this this website, typing in our course code, and that will automatically bring you to where you need to be. Now, there will be a couple different options that you have to choose from. First one is like the length of your subscription. The first one is for, just like 4 months or something. So if you are taking both A&P1 and A&P2 over the summer, that one is plenty. Okay, so no questions asked. The short, like 4-month subscription, no problem. If you are taking A&P2 in the fall with me, I encourage you to buy the longer subscription, so the 1 or 2 year subscription, which will give you access for not only this semester, but the fall as well. Okay. There's also an option to include the e-text. Sometimes it's really nice to have the e-text because when you're answering the questions that you will have for homework, it will give you the option to click here and you can go right to the section of the textbook that explains that particular content. Also, it allows you to highlight and easily search the text if you'd like. That is not required. Minimally, you need to have access for the duration of the 6 weeks that we are together. And just the homework service, you don't have to get the e-text. That is completely up to you. Okay. Other things that I recommend are colored pencils. Okay. Colored pencils, colored pens, something to diversify your notes. This has been very helpful to students in the past, and also sheet protectors. In today's lesson that you're going to watch, I talk a little bit about, how you can use sheet protectors to study some content without using tons and tons of paper and tons of ink. Okay. Okay, so again, you only have to purchase this homework service. That is it. You don't have to purchase a physical textbook if you don't want, but this is the one that I recommend. That's what I'll be referring to. Like all of the page numbers and everything are from that textbook. If you have another textbook, right? So maybe your roommate or something, someone has taken A&P before, you are welcome to use that book pretty much like, A&P is A&P. You don't have to get this particular textbook. Also, if you want to save some money, there are online free A&P textbooks. I recommend openstacks.org. This one is pretty good. And so you can access this for free, and it has a lot of the same features as through Mastering A&P. You can highlight, you can search, you can do all sorts of things. Also, you can download the PDF or print out the content if you actually want to physically hold it in your hands, which I totally understand. Okay. Another thing that I recommend is a coloring book. And yes, this sounds so silly, but purchasing this coloring book in particular will help you to study, but not in kind of the really stressful way, just what you're normally what you are normally used to, sorry. Instead, you are kind of relaxing and looking at the minute details, exactly what these structures look like, where they are relative to each other, what their shapes are, but you're doing it in a fun way. So I definitely recommend this Kevin Nelson anatomy coloring book. Later this term, I will give you a couple pages out of that so that you can use it whether you purchase it or not. All right, some policies for you, some fine print. Your lecture exams are, well, there's going to be 4 of them, and they are all going to be completed online. Okay, that being said, you are not permitted to use your notes, the internet for searches or whatever, or each other. If I suspect that there is cheating or any kind of other academic dishonesty, I do reserve the right to use Respondus. So you have to log into this service and turn your camera on, and it makes sure that you're not looking at your notes or talking to your friends or anything like that. Okay. Alternatively, we could take exams on Zoom and we would all be right there together. Of course, I don't want to go there, but I do reserve the right to use those services. Lecture quizzes are also going to be taken online, but these ones are a little bit more laid back. It's more of a learning experience as opposed to a direct assessment of your ability. These ones are open notes, so you're welcome to use any of your resources except for each other. So using your peer collaboration, talking to your friends, that is considered cheating and there will be consequences of that. The one type of major assessment that's going to occur in person are lab practicals. Those are going to occur in the lab, so in USC 2, 325. They are going to start promptly at 11:30 a.m. So when our class is scheduled to start, instead of going to our lecture classroom, you are going to go right to the laboratory. At 11:30, we're going to go in and we're going to start the test. If you show up late, it messes up everything. And so you will not be permitted into the classroom once we have started the assessment. And similarly, you can't leave to go to the bathroom or anything like that during the test either. Okay. Practicals are not open notes, right? So everything from memory, no electronic devices, no peer collaboration, none of that. It is an independent assessment of your understanding. The practical itself, I'll talk about a little bit more in class when we actually get to the lab, but you should be prepared to not only identify structures, but to spell them correctly. Okay, so I'll talk about that a little bit more soon. Academic honesty is a serious deal. This is, these classes are oftentimes prerequisites for programs in the medical field. And so cheating is particularly unacceptable in these courses because if you get an A in this class because you cheated, you're going to go on to much more challenging programs. You will be unprepared. And frankly, your knowledge is what is going to help save people's lives. Right? That is your responsibility. It is not a group effort. Patients don't come with a word bank. You can't just stop and ask, everybody else. Sometimes you need to make executive decisions in the moment, and you need to have a strong understanding of how the human body works in order to make informed decisions. Again, people's lives are going to depend on your knowledge. And so cheating is absolutely unacceptable, and I will follow the university's policy and submit a report, and potentially you will fail the course for any instances of cheating. Technology use, generally I provide a lot of content online. You will see lots of YouTube videos, of course you're watching one right now. Please do not share this content with the rest of the world. and other handouts and stuff. This is for our class. Okay. Finally, attendance. I am not going to take attendance. It is ultimately, your decision whether you come to class or not. But caveat to that is that you must be physically present in order to earn credit for the assignments of that day. There are no makeup assignments. Similarly, if there is an online asynchronous assignment that you are required to do, there is not an opportunity to make up that work. It must be done on that day, or by that day anyway, in order to receive credit. Okay. So what types of assignments, what types of grading can you expect in this class? Well, lecture is about 3/4 of the grade, and lab is about 1/4 of your grade. So generally students are really good at one or the other, and they kind of balance each other out. For lecture, there are going to be 4 exams. There's going to be a quiz leading up to each one of those exams, going to give you a little bit of practice answering questions on that content. Okay. Your homework through that homework service, so that's Mastering A&P, that is going to count as 10% of your grade. These assignments are graded for accuracy, so I encourage you to look over your notes. I encourage you to study a little bit ahead of time so that you can get the highest possible grade on these assignments. Generally, there's a lot of little extra credit built in. Generally, they give you 2 or 3 chances to get the right answer, but every wrong answer you provide takes off a fraction of a point. So again, it's really important to study and prepare ahead of time before you work on this homework. Generally, what I recommend is you look at the notes before coming to class or before watching a video on class, take notes during class, go home and study those notes, reorganize them, write them in your own words, refer to the textbook or whatever supplementary source that you're using. And then once you feel reasonably good about the content, then complete the Mastering A&P homework, get a really good grade on that. That's a nice buffer on your grade. And then take the quiz and the lecture exam. Okay, so what that allows you to do is keep on reinforcing that content, putting it into your own words, allowing you to recall that information and practice it as much as possible. On a similar note, pretty much every lesson, every day that we are taking in new content, I'm going to give you some kind of an assignment. And the idea here is that you should be recalling information that you just heard for the first time. You should be kind of assessing it, thinking about what that means, and then trying to apply it to novel circumstances. What this does is it tells your brain, the part of your brain that stores short-term memories, that, hey, this information is important, right? I'm going to rehearse it, I'm going to practice it in my mind. It is so important that I should not just dump it out of my brain right away. I need to hold on to this. And so maybe I should start converting it into a long-term memory. And so these lecture assignments are designed to do just that. The other thing they're doing is they are kind of highlighting what types of information I think are the most important. And because I'm the one who writes the exams and these lecture assignments, chances are there's some correlation there. Finally, these lecture assignments allow me to see what areas you guys need help in. Okay, so what topics are a little bit more challenging and maybe we need to go through a little bit more. Okay. Final part of our lecture grades are these Flipgrid videos. So maybe you guys have used Flipgrid in the past to, in online classes to introduce yourselves and, talk about what you feel or think or whatever. In this class, it's going to be a little bit different. In this class, the Flipgrid videos are a study technique. And in one circumstance, they are going to help you to teach your peers about some kind of course content. The idea here is that when you're learning physiology, you should be talking about the process, kind of like a story. Okay, so here's the structure, this is what it's called, this is what it does, and then this happens, and then this happens, and the end of the story. And so what the videos allow you to do is develop a story for a physiological topic that we're going to discuss and kind of get used to this process of physiology being a story. Okay, so developing these stories on your own and putting some visual references together with it. I, of course, will grade these, and so this gives us an opportunity to kind of correct any misunderstandings before you go into the lecture exam. So there are going to be 2 of those, so each one is going to be worth like 1% of your final grade. For the lab, there are going to be 2 lab practicals. Again, these are the one type of assessment that's going to be done in person only. Each one, of course, 8%. And then lab activities. So we are going to be doing some simulations. We are going to be dissecting a brain. We're going to be doing an EMG, an electromyography test, and actually like measuring the force of your grip. Okay, so generally grades on those are really high. Students do really well on them, and this is just another way of kind of buffering that grade a little bit. Okay. Oops, sorry. The lab practicals in particular are graded not only for accuracy and identification of structures, but also for spelling. And so the idea here is that when you are learning anatomy and when you are communicating about the human body, you need to be as specific as physically possible. Okay, learning anatomy literally is learning a new language. And so if you are spelling things incorrectly, if you are using kind of vague terms, this is not going to convey your message in an efficient and accurate way. And so there can be huge misunderstandings if you aren't using the appropriate terminology or spelling. And again, patients' lives depend on your understanding. And so here's just some examples of why spelling is so important in anatomy and physiology. So here, ilium and ilium sounds exactly the same, but your ilium with an E is part of your small intestine, and your ilium with an I is your hip bone. Okay, vesicle and vesicle, right? One is a little saccule, a little blister. The other one has something to do with the urinary bladder, right? So if you are writing out these terms, you can convey an entirely different message if you use the wrong spelling. And of course, as we can see, the spellings are super close. Finally, peroneal versus perineal. Both of these again mean entirely different things, and spelling is critical. Okay? So lab practicals in particular are going to be graded for spelling. The lecture exams and quizzes are all going to be multiple choice or matching or something, so there really isn't an opportunity to spell on those types of assessments. Okay. One other note before we move along here, this is the grading scale, right? So pretty standard. The one exception is that there is no C-. A lot of programs essentially consider C- as, failing, as not counting towards your major. And so I really don't see that there is a major difference between, 74 and a 73. And so pretty much all of C- and C is consolidated into just C. Okay, so everything else is plus and minus as normal, but there is no C-. Again, this course covers a lot of content. It might feel very overwhelming at first, especially if you're not used to summer courses and their rapid pace, and also not used to learning this type of content. So I encourage you to stay up on the material, to come to class, take the notes, and when you get home, don't just zone out and not think about A&P until the next day. Look over your notes again, rewrite your notes, look at A&P every single day, even Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You should be looking at your A&P. You should be trying to recall this information from memory, not just looking at your notes, but eyes closed, recalling the information. Okay. I do not provide study guides. Okay. Instead, I provide review sessions, opportunities to ask questions. I give you guys that mastering A&P homework, I give you guys class assignments, there's lab assignments, all of that is highlighting that, hey, this information right here is really important. You should study this. Okay, so maybe even making your own study guides and your own resources will be very helpful to you. Okay. Also in the syllabus, I polled my classes over the past few years and asked them, what they wish they had known when they were just beginning this class. And so here are some of, the students' feedback on taking this class. So long story short, stay up on the content, study all the time, don't cram, use lots of colors, lots of different study types and study resources. Okay. See down here, it is your responsibility to learn the content. I can give you resources, I can talk all day, every day, but I cannot make you actually learn this information, right? I really wish that I could. It is your responsibility to do so. I am here to help, I am here to support you. If you communicate with me, I can give you suggestions, I can walk you through information again, but ultimately at the end of the day, it is your responsibility. Okay, generally, college courses expect you to study for about 3 hours outside of class for every hour of lecture. We cover about 14 hours of content every single week in this class. And so 14 hours of lecture and lab. And on top of that, right, times 3 is how much time you should be studying. So I do not recommend working full-time. I do not recommend taking a lot of classes on top of this. It is a significant time investment. Okay. Our lecture schedule. As I talked about in the video that I gave you before our semester started, our schedule is color-coded, and this is matched to the colors on Blackboard as well. Generally, Mondays and Wednesdays, we meet together with the exception of today, Monday, May 16th. And Tuesdays and Thursdays are asynchronous online. So you don't have to go to class, you don't have to jump on Zoom, you don't have to do any of that. There's going to be a video or some type of assignment, and you are going to submit it by the end of that day, generally. Okay. Quizzes, for the most part, are over the weekend. That being said, they generally open on Thursday and they close right before we see each other again on Monday. So if you need the break over the weekend, and I absolutely respect that, I totally understand, you can complete everything from Monday to Thursday. I don't necessarily recommend going 3 days without thinking about A&P, but the course is designed in such a way that you can take the weekend if you would like. Okay. A little bit more detail about the schedule. Generally, each Monday and Wednesday is broken into lecture and lab. Okay. For the most part, we will be starting in USC 1-345 to do our lecture, and then transitioning to our laboratory in USC 2-325. Okay. There will be assignments every time we meet together, and generally they're submitted by the end of the class. The asynchronous lessons almost always have an assignment as well. So tomorrow, and I'll show you this on Blackboard here soon, tomorrow you are going to watch a YouTube video on chemistry, and then you're going to complete a Kahoot. The assignments, the class assignments, are never graded for accuracy, as long as you do all of it. Right? So you answer every question on the Kahoot, you answer all of the ed puzzle questions, you show up to class, and you do whatever we do together, you will receive full credit. Right? Mastering A&P is the only, assignment, not assessment, but assignment that is graded for accuracy. Okay. Let's see. All right, so quizzes, colors for meeting together, meeting online, and finally, the assessments are here in darker blue. So your lecture exams are dark blue here, lab practicals a little bit darker. And again, those ones are on campus. Okay. Please note that the lecture exams are often only open for a single day. Okay, so the quizzes, there's a pretty big window. You have the entire weekend. The lecture exams are only open for a 24-hour period. Okay. Once again, summer A&P courses are scheduled or must cover about 14 hours of class time every single week. And so even though Tuesday and Thursday we're not meeting together, there should still be 2 hours or so, at least 2 hours of class time, not counting assignments and everything, but class time for those days. Okay, so please plan your lives accordingly. Right. So that is our syllabus. Let me walk you through Blackboard just one more time. Again, here is your syllabus, the schedule. Here is another way to access Mastering A&P. This is also printed within your syllabus as well. Okay. Lecture and lab. Right now, you guys can see all of the exam 1 content. And here is the schedule, in case you forget. Green, this means online, right? So you can read all of this here in case you forget what I say, but essentially you are going to go to this playlist, right? So right here, of course you did because you're watching this video right now. You're going to take notes using these notes right here and also this blank body diagram as you watch this video. Okay, and then once you're done with all of that, you will complete a class assignment and make sure that you do this by the end of the day today. Okay, tomorrow, again, we're not meeting in person. You are going to watch a video at this link. You can use these notes. Okay, and when you're done watching the videos, you can play this Kahoot. Make sure to use a nickname that I can connect back to you, right? Don't use something that I have no idea who that is, because otherwise I can't give you credit. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you use a name that is somehow connected to your name. Okay, Wednesday, finally, we meet in person. We're going to go through these notes. I am going to be drawing on the board a lot, so I encourage you to not just print out the notes, but to also bring a notebook. I very much encourage you to draw with me as I draw. Finally, Thursday, you are going to watch your lesson through Edpuzzle. Okay, so this is what Edpuzzle looks like. You're going to play the lesson at each one of these things here. You are going to answer some questions. Generally, this is going to ask you to sign up for a free account. You use your Stockton or go.stockton.edu email address, and then I can give you credit for the assignment. Okay. Of course, there goes. All right, so this weekend, we are working towards completing a quiz on everything that is covered from Monday through Wednesday online and together in class. When the time comes, you are going to click on this link and begin the test. Okay. All right, so that's where assessments are. Finally, your grades are going to be here, and everything is ultimately incorporated into your total grade in the class here. All right, so that is all of the new information I have for you guys. Make sure that you watch the video to get the new content and then complete the class assignment by the end of today. Thank you so much. I will see you guys on Wednesday.